You were born in 1540 in the province of Ovari, where the air always smells of rice fields and foreign war. Your father is a samurai. It sounds proud if you don't know the details. He owns a plot of land 8 cho square, commands 5-foot soldiers in a foreign army, and receives 12 koku of rice a year. After paying taxes, rent for the warehouse, and equipment repairs, 8 koku remain. 4 people live on 8 koku. He, you, your mother, and your grandmother. This is not poverty. This is called being a low-ranking samurai in an age when God changes provinces like peasants change straw sandals. Your mother died in 1548 of a simple fever, for which there was no treatment. Your father did not cry at the funeral. You remembered this not as cruelty, but as a lesson. Emotions cost energy, and energy costs money. Money in this world is rice, and rice does not wait. From the age of 8, you work in the fields with the peasants and learn to wield a wooden sword alongside the sons of other minor samurai. No master, no school. Your father demonstrates the stances himself from memory after dinner by an oil lamp. The archive of his knowledge, 20 years of warriorship, 3 scars, and a habit of sleeping half asleep. At 10, you're already shooting a bow. At 12, you understand that a bow isn't just a weapon, it's a status symbol. A good arrow is worth as much as a grown man's daily ration. You see your first corpse in 1549. Soldiers from a neighboring clan are passing through the village. One of them kills a peasant for stepping out of the way too slowly. The body lies in the mud for 3 days until relatives remove it. No one says anything. That's the way the world works. In 1554, your father goes on a campaign and doesn't return. Not heroically. He dies of dysentery during a siege 200 from his home in a camp that has stood unbroken for 40 days. You're 14. He leaves leaders behind. 1 suit of armor with a cracked pauldron, a short sword with a loose hilt, a debt of 3 koku of rice to a neighbor who lent him grain last winter, and land that is immediately seized by your clan's eldest because you're underage and there's no one to defend you. Your grandmother tells you to find a lord. You understand this yourself. Without a lord, a samurai is just a man with a sword and no rice. In Ovari province, 4 clans are currently dividing power, killing each other, and poaching vassals. One of them is young Nobunaga, who recently turned 17 and about whom strange rumors abound. He walks the streets unguarded, eats in the street like a commoner, and doesn't care what the elders think. You hear this name for the first time in 155 and don't attach any significance to it. 3 such young lords appear every few years, and most don't live their 30s. You're 15. Sword, armor, and duty. Nothing else. Finding a lord isn't simply a matter of showing up and bowing. In the province of Ovari, in 155, there are too many samurai and too little land to distribute as salaries. Clans fight, lose men, but also capture their opponent's men, take on defectors, and accept impoverished minor vassals like you into their service. Competition is fierce. You go to an inspection before a vassal of the Mizuno clan, a small clan with ties to several large clans at once. The inspection goes like this. Archery at 50 paces, 5 arrows, then practice with the wooden sword against one of their men. You hit 4 out of 5. That's enough. You're accepted. Salary, 10 koku per year. It's less than your father's salary, but you have no choice. The first thing you'll realize about your profession is that equipment costs money, which you don't have. A suit of armor of average quality, 3 to 7 koku. Your armor is your father's, with a cracked pauldron. It needs repair. Half a koku to repair. A good longsword costs 2 koku. You have a short sword with a loose hilt. A horse is 10 koku plus 2 koku a year for maintenance. A horse is simply unaffordable on your salary. You are a dismounted samurai, literally on foot. Your superior, Tanaka Hiroshi, explains how things work without unnecessary affection. You command 5 ashikaru, foot soldiers from the peasantry. Your task is to lead them to the battle, keep them in formation, and prevent them from sickening when they most want to do so. Your men are named Goro, Keita, the Masaki brothers, and Ryuta. Goro drinks. Keita steals. The Masaki brothers fight among themselves. Ryuta limps in his left leg from an old injury, which didn't Stop him from lying during the recruitment process. Is this your army? Your first real campaign? Autumn 1557, the Mizuna clan sides with one neighbor against another. You still don't fully understand the nature of the conflict. You walk for 12 days. Your feet are sore and bloody by the 4th day. Your sandals aren't designed for such a pace. On the 5th day, rain begins and doesn't stop for 5 days. Your armor rusts, the city catches a cold. The provisions are designed for 10 days. On the 12th, you give the people their last rice in the morning, knowing they're still a long way from their destination. The battle itself lasts less than an hour. The enemy retreats quickly. Your 5 men stand in the 3rd row and contribute little to the battle. You kill 1 man and finish off the wounded man who lies on the ground and never gets up. This isn't something they write about in poems. It's simply a job that needs to be done because leaving wounded enemies behind is dangerous. After the battle, there's looting. It's not called looting. It's called taking what's owed to you. The dead are stripped of armor, weapons, money, sandals, good cloth. You take a substandard officer's shoulder pad. It matches your armor better than your father's cracked one. It's a promotion. Gora finds a purse with 3 copper coins. Masaki Sr. finds a decent knife. Ryuta finds nothing. That's because he's limping and was the last one to reach the bodies. On the way back, you already know something you didn't know 3 weeks ago. War isn't honor or glory. War is logistics, rain, sore feet, and someone else's armor that you need to remove before the neighboring unit. Your first years in the service look like this. 2/3 of the time waiting, 1/3 moving, and 1/2 actually fighting. A salary of 10 koku a year is paid twice a year in rice at the master's warehouse. You receive sacks and carry them home. By then, you've rented a corner in a merchant's house in the nearest town and immediately pay 1/3 for rent. The rest is food, lamp oil, minor equipment repairs, and occasionally new clothes. Camp life on a campaign has its own smell that you never forget. Smoke, rotten grain, unwashed bodies, horse manure. In winter, icy ground under thin bedding. In summer, mosquitoes that never stop from dusk to dawn. She appears after a week of any campaign. This is not shameful, it's just a fact. You begin checking the seams of your clothes every morning as automatically as you check the condition of a blade. You're 5. A cigar. That's a science in itself. Gora drinks rice wine and Ann fights in his sleep, but stands firm in battle because he has nowhere to run. He owes money to 3 people in the village and can't return. Kita steals professionally. He steals other people's sandals, pieces of dried meat, copper coins, but never weapons and never his own. He somehow knows how to find food where there is none. In times of famine, this is valuable. The Masaki brothers fight among themselves all the way and fight back to back with the enemy in battle. Ryuta limps, lags behind, grumbles, but has never deserted in 3 years. In 1561, you are promoted. Formally, you become a mid-ranking samurai. In reality, your salary increases to 50 koku, and you now command 10 men instead of 5. You celebrate this event alone, over a bowl of rice with soybean paste in your corner of the merchants. No one really congratulates you. It's not because they treat you poorly. It's just that there are a few hundred like you in the clan's army. Average promotion for the average person. In the winter of 1563, the lord declares a campaign to siege a small castle in the north of the province. The castle is held by a clan unwilling to recognize the new borders. The siege lasts 42 days. It's the most boring and hardest thing you can remember. 42 days means 2 camp markets, 5 skirmishes with enemy sorties, 3 men in your unit dying of dysentery, 1 night attack repelled by sound in the darkness, and running out of provisions by the 35th day. On the 30th day, your men eat a mixture of rice and the bark of a young tree. Not because they're completely hungry, but because the rice needs to last. It tastes about as good as you'd expect. The castle surrenders on the 42nd day. Its garrison marches out in an orderly fashion, laying down their arms. Some are executed, others are released. It depends on your rank and how long they kept you waiting. You don't make these decisions. You're told to take up position at the north gate, and you take up position at the north gate. After the siege, your 3 dead men are replaced by 3 living ones, peasants, newly recruited. You start explaining everything to them all over again, how to stand, where to look, what to do when they're scared. This is the 3rd time you've done it. It gets easier, not because you don't feel sorry, but because the words come naturally. Tare, you're 35, you've served your lord for 20 years, counting from the beginning. Your salary has increased to 18 koku. Not much, but it's steady. You have a small room, which you no longer rent from a merchant, but from a samurai's widow, which is considered a little more respectable. Your squad consists of 15 men, several of whom you've known for many years. This is the year Nagasino takes place. Your lord is siding with the coalition against the Takata clan. The Takeda are cavalry, the finest cavalry in the country, which hasn't lost a single field battle in half a century. You've heard about it your whole life. An avalanche of cavalry that nothing can stop. Oda Nobunaga deploys 3,000 arquebuses, who see their positions behind wooden barriers and don't fully understand what's happening. Then it begins. Takeda allows the cavalry. The first volley and a third of the first wave fall to the ground along with their horses. The second volley, while the first rank reloads, the second fires. The third. This isn't a battle. It's a scheduled massacre. The Takata horsemen gallop into the smoke and fall. The finest cavalry in the country is being killed in 20 minutes by 3,000 peasants with pipes full of gunpowder. Your task in this battle is to hold the infantry's left flank. You hold. You have almost nothing to do. The enemy is routed before they reach your position. You stand behind the barrier and watch the world you knew die. Everything you were taught, formation, discipline, valor, the sword, no longer determines the outcome. Now it's gunpowder, volley discipline, and the number of barrels. After Nagashin, your lord loses 2 vassals. They died. The clan shrinks. Your unit's pay is cut from 18 to 12 koku. Not because you serve poorly, but because you have to pay for gunpowder and arquebuses, who cost twice as much as an ordinary samurai. Nobunaga's new army costs money. The old army, you're cheaper now. Winter 1575. Down 12 koku. After rent, food, and equipment, nothing. You literally count and come up with 0. You sell the decorative scabbard from your sword, a gift you once received for good service. 3 coins. Enough oil and soybean paste for a month. In February 1576, you lead people to a neighboring village at night. The village pays taxes to another lord. You take 7 sacks of grain from the barn. You don't kill anyone. You don't beat anyone. You just take. The peasants watch from their houses, not coming out. They know there's no need to go out. On the way back, one of your men remains silent the entire way. Zara, who is still with you, older and quieter, tells you quietly that he has a sister in that village. You say nothing. You bring the grain home. This is the first time you can't explain to yourself how what you're doing is different from what you were supposed to be protected from. By 1580, you're no longer the same person you were before Nagasino. Not in appearance. In appearance, you've simply aged. For 40 years, my joints have been aching in the mornings after damp nights. An old wound on my left thigh sustained during a night sortie in 1569, but with a change in the weather. These are all the usual injuries of a working body. The matter is different. Your salary is 10 koku. It has been cut again. Your squad has been reduced to 8 men. Gora died in the winter of 1578, not in battle, from cold that developed into a chest infection. Eita left for another master in 1577 when the chance arose. The Masaki brothers, one died at Nagasino, the other lost 3 fingers on his right hand and is now unfit for military service. Ryuta is still here. He limps more, is more silent. You are always surprised that he is still alive. Nobunaga now comprises a third of the country. His army is enormous. Hundreds of small clans have joined it, and their samurai are now part of a huge machine where you are one of thousands of nameless men with a sword. You serve your immediate master. One serves a higher-ranking vassal, another an even higher-ranking one. And somewhere up there at the top is Nobunaga, whom you've never seen within 500 paces. Rice wine has become part of the evening. Not much, you don't have money for much, but a little every evening to make your joints feel softer and your head drift off faster. You notice this without much concern. Men who have been fighting for 25 years drink. This too is simply a fact. In 1551, you are transferred, not demoted, transferred. Your immediate lord places you at the disposal of another vassal who needs experienced commanders to train new oshi-koru. It sounds like a promotion. In reality, it means you are no longer a warrior. You are an instructor for village boys who will shoot arquebuses. Your sword is no longer needed in battle. Your words on how to hold the line are needed. An instructor's salary, 9 koku, 1 room in the barracks. You steam them with rice and explain to them what your father once explained to you. How to stand, where to look, what to do when you're scared. Only now they hold arquebuses, not swords, not sword. And when asked why learn fencing, when you have arquebuses, you don't know what to say. In June 1582, news arrives. Oda Nobunaga has been killed at Hanoi Temple by his own vassal, Akitsuhide. A normal morning turns to chaos by midday. Your lord changes his position 3 times within a month. First for Achi, then for Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who is avenging Nobunaga. Then it's unclear again. You stop following. You've served for 27 years. That must mean something. After the events of 1582, you spend another 2 years in the barracks as an instructor. Then your lord loses another power transfer and his vassal network crumbles. You are not executed or exiled. They simply say your services are no longer needed. They pay 3 koku for the last months, hand you a release from service, and close the gates. You're 44. You're Ron. For the first few months, you still think you'll find a new master. You go to inspections, present the release, and list your experience. 27 years of service. They tell you, come back later. We'll think about it, maybe. The late Sengoku period turns into the early Edo period. The war is ending. There are too many samurai, too few masters. Those who need warriors want young ones. Those who need experience want people with a name and the best biography. By 1580 and 86, you're guarding merchant convoys. They pay you in coins, not rice, which is worse in the face of inflation. Ryuta comes with you. He has nowhere else to go. You protect merchants from bandits, who sometimes turn out to be fellow former samurai. It's awkward, but it's quickly resolved. None of you want to die for someone else's goods. In 1589, you are offered a position as a gahad at an establishment in a port city. The establishment is an expensive brothel. Your job is to stand by the door, luxurious, and escort out drunken customers without causing a scandal. Do you accept? Ryuta dies that same winter. His leg finally gives out. Gangrene sets in. He dies quietly in a cheap inn within 3 days. You are the last of your original 5. Here are a few things you need to know about who you were. The average length of active military service for low-ranking samurai during the Sengoku period was 12 to 20 years. You served 27, that's the exception. Most died earlier, not in battle, from illness or wounds on campaign. Of every 100 samurai who enlisted in 155, few, then 30 survived by 1582. You are one of 30 Isilua. Bushido, the samurai code, is a text written primarily in the 15th century, after the wars had already ended. Samurai of the Sengoku era didn't read it. They read ledgers and troop movement orders up. Myth says a samurai is a warrior of spirit and steel. Reality. You were a farm laborer, sometimes sent to kill other farm laborers. Between battles, which took up less than 5% of your time on duty, you repaired equipment, counted rice, and fought lice. Myth says a samurai dies with honor. Reality, most died from dysentery, intestinal infections, and infected wounds. Dying in battle was statistically rare. Myth says loyalty to your lord is the highest value. Reality, vassals changed lords at the right moment so often that it was considered the norm. Oda Nobunaga was killed by his own general. This was the rule, not the exception. Myth says the arquebuse destroyed the samurai spirit. Reality, samurai immediately began using arquebuse themselves as soon as they realized it worked better. Spiritual purity ends where practical warfare begins. Myth says the Ronin is a tragic hero. Reality. A Ronin is an unemployed soldier with a sword and no pension. Most of them died in poverty. What if you were born in a different place or at a different time? If you were the son of a merchant rather than a minor samurai, you would trade cloth or rice, pay taxes, watch men with swords from a safe distance, and probably live to be 60 if you served directly on the Bunaga. And proved yourself prominent enough at the right moment, you could become a vassal with land, a real salary, and a few fealty and a future. This happened to some, not you, because you were average in a country where you had to be exceptional at the right. You die in 1596 on the road between two unimportant towns. The fever that began 3 days ago doesn't go away. The innkeeper doesn't know your name. You left no family. There was no time, then no money, then it was too late. Your sword lies nearby. They'll take it in a day when they search your belongings. It's not a tragedy. It's simply how the job ends. If you've read this far, it means you're interested in the real world, unvarnished. Subscribe to the channel. Next time, we'll talk about a man whose job was even more inconvenient for beautiful stories.